the U.S. has just announced another
$8 billion.
$8 billion
Yeah.
to Ukraine, courtesy of the U.S. taxpayer, to continue a war that is failing as Russian troops move east. None of the weapons seem to have made much of a difference. And it's gotten so desperate for the Brits and the Starmer administration, who are the main proponents of sending Storm Shadow missiles to Ukraine and of getting the U.S. and UK directly involved in attacks on Moscow, which the Pentagon seems to oppose, that David Lammy, the British Foreign Secretary, had to try some new tactics out at the UN, something that I haven't seen yet, but which I fully expected in order to campaign for more weapons to a losing, failing Ukraine.
But I say to the Russian representative on his phone as I speak, that I stand here also as a black man whose ancestors were taken in chains from Africa at the barrel of a gun to be enslaved, whose ancestors rose up and fought in a great rebellion of the enslaved. Imperialism, I know it when I see it, and I will call it out for what it is. In this week, when I'm here talking to other partners around the world about our shared futures and the future of the UN, Russia is trying to return us to a world of the past, a world of imperialism, a world of redrawing borders by force, a world without the UN Charter. We cannot allow this to happen. Ukraine's fight matters to all of us. The UK will remain Ukraine's staunchest supporter.
Well, as a black man, I want to send weapons to the 3rd Battalion, the rebranding of the Azov Battalion led by Andrei Beletsky, who says he will lead the white races of the world against the Jewish Untermenschen, the Jewish-led Untermenschen. That's David Lammy, who is invoking his history as the descendant of a slave to condemn imperialism on behalf of the UK. I mean, the irony cannot be overstated there. And just the ridiculous, desperate tactics that he's pulling out of his hat to attack Russia. Was Russia responsible for the Middle Passage, for the transatlantic slave trade?
Why not at this
point?
Did
Russia have slaves? Did the Russian Empire have slaves from Africa?
I mean, they're responsible for everything. Hillary Clinton losing, racism in the U.S. So why not also accuse them?
That's right. And for according to Kamala Harris, they're responsible for the Colin Kaepernick-led take the knee protests in the NFL. So they're responsible for anti-racism.
Yeah.
They're responsible for Black Lives Matter. They're responsible for the Uhuru Socialist Party in Florida.
Yeah. What I find amazing about all this, this whole narrative requires for millions of ethnic Russians in Ukraine who want to speak the Russian language, who want to have ties with Russia. It requires them just not to exist. They just don't exist to these people. You can't acknowledge their existence to push this narrative that Russia is trying to take over all of Ukraine and conquer it, not trying to protect the millions of ethnic Russians who want to speak their language and have ties to Russia and want to be accepted in a country where another major contingent, although not large in numbers, but certainly large in their muscle and their intimidation tactics, doesn't want to recognize ethnic Russians in Ukraine as equal, to the point where it won't let them speak their own language or wants to ban their language. Like, all that's just missing from all of this. And I don't know, like, Russia's not very good at propaganda, I don't think. And if Russia, I think, had done a better job of propaganda, maybe more people around the world would know that this starts with the coup in 2014. I mean, that, like, the coup they talk about, but in terms of all these people,
what do you mean? We're controlled by Russia and we're doing a really good job.
Oh, us, yeah, sure, yeah. Well, maybe we failed in our, but it's like, I mean, they could have done a better job, I think, at like spotlighting the plight of the people of Eastern Ukraine who were resisting a coup and want to speak their language. Maybe just because the media in U.S. is so obedient, they would never pay attention to them. They're not allowed.
Well, the Russian perspective has basically been illegalized in the U.S.
Yeah.
under Tony Blinken's State Department. Like RT is almost effectively banned.
That's true.
You're literally not allowed to work for RT anymore inside the United States.
Yeah.
So what mechanism do they have for informing the U.S. public about their side?
Yeah, no,
and
fair enough. I guess it's just amazing to me how many people don't even know that there are millions of people inside Eastern Ukraine who are Ukrainians, but also ethnic Russians who were actually scared of the coup government in Ukraine and have not had their basic rights respected, and we're going to have their rights respected in something called the Minsk Accords, which multiple Ukrainian governments after the coup refused to implement because it would mean recognizing the equality of these ethnic Russians who Ukrainian ultranationalists just did not want. And so here we are.
No, it's like when Grayzone contributor Liam Cosgrove asked former member of Congress Jamal Bowman, what is Crimea? Do you know what the Donbass is? He didn't even know what they were.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think most members of Congress even know what they are.
No, they don't. They don't. And they probably haven't heard of the Minsk Accords or even the Istanbul Agreement. That's
what I was just hoping someone would ask Kamala Harris. Just, do you even know what the Minsk Accords are?
No.
That's why she's avoiding interviews, by the way.